a big place. You get out of Ultimate Team, we go into Customize, and then you're going into Settings. This is something that I cannot stress enough, the importance of doing this. Seriously, it will change the way you play. So first off, if you're playing online, competitive master switch, you might as well play it on. There's no reason to have this off, even if you're playing offline, whatever, because the first time you go into an online matchup, it's going to be on. So it's kind of bad training or bad practice. And all it does is turns off contextual dribbling and clearances and flare pass, auto shots, assisted headers. So all of 4 out of these 5 would have been off anyway, in my mindset. So last year, like contextual dribbling means like you'd have dribble animations done on your behalf. Auto clearances, the same thing. Auto flare pass, same thing. Like it would be you're doing fancy passes and you didn't do it. Auto shots, that sounds ridiculous. Assisted headers was a big shift because we used to have assisted headers. So now that that's off, you're going to have to aim your headers a little bit more. So that's actually a shift. And then the jockey, I think most of us either played on an assisted or manual here. Some of you played on assisted. I don't think it's a big adjustment period for any player. Like I've never felt like a manual to assisted with jockey made a huge difference. But you know what I found to be really helpful instead of the FIFA trainer being on is you pause the game or you look at the opportunities after the game, and then you can look at the instant replays and it'll show you where you're aiming. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. If you're playing offline, you can pause it immediately and look at it. If you're playing online, you have to wait till the end of the game. But I find that to be way, way more helpful than having the trainer on. And also, I've always felt that the trainer is really distracting. Personally, I've always felt the trainer to be really distracting. I don't like looking at it. Time finishing this year. Last year, a lot of people turned it off. It wasn't valuable. It wasn't an asset. It didn't help you. It didn't benefit you. In fact, if anything, it might have hindered you. So this year, however, you have to have time finishing on, in my opinion, because time finishing gives you an advantage, especially with the long shooting. I'm seeing people use it in the box again. It's good to go. This is actually going to be something that I have off, but I think if you're struggling defensively, next player switch indicator is going to be helpful for you. Again, for me, I find it a little more of a distraction, but I also feel that my player switching is top tier. Pass block assistance. This is interesting because you basically have an animation here, and I don't think it's it can be on, it can be off. I've been testing it to see if the AI is making smart decisions with this or they're making stupid ones, because the AI might be more valuable to have as a helper than they are to not have as a helper. Auto switching. So you've got manual, which is something I've used in the past, but I kind of feel as if this year that I don't trust some of the response time for manual auto switching. You've got only loose balls, only air balls. Don't have it. Never automatic. Never. So I have it air balls and loose balls where if the ball's out there, it'll switch for you. But I think the big key here is you could air balls, loose balls, manual, only loose balls and only air balls. All that's fine. You just want to avoid automatic. Auto switching move assistance. I've seen players on none, low, and high. I really don't think it's going to shift your gameplay drastically. I've played on low. It's not going to be something that changes your output or results drastically. It just isn't. Like you're not winning or losing more games because you're auto switching move assistance. If anything, it'd be a really, really fine detail. Clearance assistance. So you've got classic. I didn't like clearance assistance in previous years. How many times you get a corner kick and that corner kick always falls to the same guy, your opposition's top of the box, and they get another chance. So this new directional takes into consideration, as you can see, the user directional input, but still fully assists on power and picks the earliest available contact point. I think it's helpful. I think directional is helpful. It gives you a little more input as to placement in into areas that maybe aren't as dangerous. Player lock. I've never been amazing at player lock, but there's definitely value in it. There's no doubt about it. If you're new to it, it allows you to play off the ball. So you hit L and R at the same time, the left stick, right stick, and then you're able to play off the ball. It's definitely a very high level tactic. I would say it's an elite tactic or an elite gameplay function. If you want not to use it, but to use it well, to use it instinctively, to use it quickly, to use it well. This will be an elite level. So if you're not performing consistently at like a gold 1 or elite 3 or somewhere in there, I don't even know if it's worth your investment of time, because there's so many other places that you could spend your time where you will improve results quicker. Icon switching, brand new to this year. I still haven't seen anybody really maximizing this. I'm just that's where I'm at. So I don't know if it's going to come on later or if it's going to come on earlier, if it's not going to be relevant at all. I haven't seen the return of investment that would be necessary for adding something completely new in your gameplay. Right stick switching, you have ball relative, player relative. I would say almost all of you are used to player relative, where you're going player to player as opposed to where the ball's at as a center point. It is important, and I think people are a little confused by right stick switching, player relative versus ball relative. But if you played any previous installments, it was player relative. Ground pass, shot assistance, assisted. The only one I change, I like semi for crossing. I feel like I have a little more oomph. I have a little more placement involved with semi. That's, of course, a personal preference. But basically, the further you hold the button assigned to the sprint action, the faster your player will run. So I never was someone that's like beating down the sprint button. I find this easier to be off, and the guy moves as he should move as you're pushing down the sprint button. Pass receiver lock, I've got it on the default. You could have it early. Same thing. It's similar to what we discussed earlier, where I just don't think it's going to change your results. It's not a magical adjustment like that. It's very, very small, and it's kind of whatever you get used to doing. And I don't want vibration personally. So game settings here, not super important until you get into the camera. So I go the tele broadcast route. I still think co-op has a lot of value this year, preference involved. And then I go to custom. And I'm trying out right now at 20 and 5. Sometimes this gets a slightly shifted left, slightly shifted right, but overall that's what you're going to have is some sort of get up between tele broadcast and in co-op. Telly's a little bit closer, which I just don't think is an advantage. But I mean, camera view doesn't shift drastically. Co-op's a little bit farther. So co-op, if you can get used to it, I might even try out co-op a little bit more this year. I find that some of the deep releases, some of the extra passes, they're available. They're open for business. I'm a little bit stubborn to sticking towards tele broadcast, but I think co-op definitely has value.